The average credit card interest rate as of right now,
33%.
21.88.
21.88%.
That is wild.
So that is what? For every $100, it's $21?
Yeah.
$21. Man, now put that on $10,000 scale. That's $2,100.
Exactly. And when you consider that 60% of Americans have excessive credit card debt, meaning more.
How many?
60%.
60%. What's 60% of 380 million? 380 million, 60%, more than half the country has excessive credit card debt. What's considered excessive?
That means that's not paid off regularly.
So it's not paid off every month.
Correct.
60% of Americans have a credit card that's not paid off every month, and on average, 21% interest. So 60% of America is paying 21% interest on a credit card that is not paid every single month.
That's right.
And then people call Dave Ramsey crazy for saying pay off your debt.
He's not crazy. The part that we disagree, and we're talking about credit cards, right? At 21.88%.
Terrible.
A mortgage, we'll compare that to a mortgage, and the one thing that we both disagree with Dave Ramsey on is the mortgage is a great tool.
It is a great tool.
Because I mean, even high end, I mean, you're looking at 7.5% interest rate. I mean, the highest we really go is like 7.75 right now is the highest I've seen lately on a rate sheet.
And that's for an investment property.
Right. Yeah. That's for like a cash out investment property.
That's like the highest interest rate around.
That's the
it's the riskiest loan, highest interest rate.
Highest
around.
You will see. It's wild comparing to it. And then you also have to compare that it's over 30 years.
Yep.
So, I mean, the amount of payment that you're making is extremely low, and it's a tool that is building you appreciation as well.
Right.
A credit card isn't, I mean, what are you buying with it? How is that going to make you build wealth? It's not. A mortgage is a tool that builds wealth.
Right.
Through appreciation, through building equity, because a lot of those mortgage payments also goes to you in principal. And we've just talked about how you're going to get more and more of it each month.
And then if you buy your primary residence and then get into a few investment properties, we can also show you how to pay those off a lot quicker through amortization schedules. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do that really helps the consumer. And that's why we build wealth through real estate. So
right. I do want to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned earlier.
For financial literacy?
Right.
Okay.
In terms of it. So, because you mentioned in terms of like minorities and them handing out things and that's not the way to fix it. If you look at it, I mean, it's not. It actually holds minorities back.
What is that?
Giving out incentives, giving out things, basically handing away things. I know the government, and this is something that...
Well, it holds not just minorities back, anybody who gets a free handout, right?
Absolutely.
And this is a super controversial statement. I know that Donovan's going to cut this up, put it on social media, and it's going to get 7,000 views, and people are going to hate me, and some people are going to love me, but I'm not trying to play defense here, and I'm not trying to get people to hate and love me. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to teach people to fish, right? So it doesn't hold just a minority back. If you give unemployment to somebody, it holds that without an incentive behind it, it holds them back, right? Now, I get it. It's hard to find jobs in certain sectors. Guess what? We all immigrated here at one point. Right. Our families were brave enough to move to this country for a better opportunity. Maybe sometimes we have to move out of the community. Easier said than done. I get it. But yes, I agree with you. It holds everybody back.
Like in particular, I'm thinking the tax credits given to single parents. It's
incentivizing them to stay a single parent.
Exactly. So it's incentivizing. So what a lot of I can make money if we don't get married. But what you also have to look at is statistics of children.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, I love this.
That come from like single parent homes or from a nuclear family with both parents there. It holds minorities back because and I say minorities because that's a lot of who took advantage of it and, or not took advantage, but
we're given the credit.
Correct. That we're given the credit and did not get married and did not have that nuclear family specifically to get government money.
Right. It's a high percentage, something in like the 70% of that tax credit went to minority families.
Right. And what it did was hold people back, and that's proven by statistics.
Well, and if you really want to get down into it, this is a super controversial take, but some people will say it was planned by the U.S. government and CIA through the crack epidemic in the 80s that targeted minority communities and broke down minority communities. And then there's things like, Black Wall Street that was burnt to the ground that stopped minorities from having black men and women, back then it was black men in general, from having thriving businesses, their own sector of the economy. We have to get back to micro economies within our communities, right? And it doesn't mean to segregate communities. I don't mean that by at all. What I mean is inside of our community, we have to get back to mainstream America. Do you get what I mean by Main Street? Not mainstream, Main Street America. Main Street America is in Rock Hill, South Carolina, right? I think it's 60% minority here. We have a Main Street, and that Main Street's starting to thrive again, right? We have small local owned businesses where I go in, and if Donovan owns a shop, I can say, hey, Donovan, what's going on? We can shake hands. I know Donovan as a man. He knows me as a man. We know, hey, this is a good person, or this is that. And we do business with each other in Main Street America. You know, I do like the concept of Amazon, but I think it's hurt small business. And I think small business is the backbone of financial literacy. I think it's the backbone of of communities. If you go to like the old mill towns, a lot of them are very heavy minority communities, right? That have no thriving industry right now. We have to get back. How do we revive that? How do we revive Main Street America? Because that's going to be the biggest way that we help individual communities is through the community and the community members owning businesses. And then us as community members, me, you, everybody, we have to hold our communities to a high standard.
We do. And that's exactly what you said. It's down to the person. It's like for that, I don't think there's not much with policy and things like that you can necessarily do, because every business needs to be treated to have that opportunity. But it's also down to the person to have that knowledge to be able to make those decisions and say, you know what?
And that's where financial literacy comes in.
Exactly. If they have that knowledge to say, I want to support small businesses because that's the best thing for our country.
Well, and the other piece too is you mentioned, minority communities. It's not minority communities that this just affects.
No.
It affects every community. And if you look at it, it's like the nuclear family, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at kids who grow up in a single parent household, the percentage of them getting arrested or getting in trouble or breaking the law or not doing well in school, graduating college, it's drastically lower.
It's not everyone. And I mean, some people have the mindset to get through it and say, you know what, I come from a bad place. They learn, they have that experience. They push through it and say, I'm going to be better than my background. But it's rare. Very rare.
And here's the other piece, man, is, I think what you were getting at with the tax piece, because I'm trying to clarify this a little bit, right? So nobody was taking advantage of this. They were given a tax credit because it's a lot harder being a single mom or a single dad,
right,
without having a spouse. So that's what I'm kind of circling back to. I want people to understand that you're not saying that people were taking advantage of the tax credit, but I think what you were getting at, which I would agree with, is maybe let's incentivize marriage. Let's incentivize two-parent households. Let's incentivize education. Let's incentivize financial literacy. Let's say, hey, I always had this thought.
And let's incentivize communities that are there to take care of someone who has a family that is in a hard place and is a single-parent household.
Right.
Let's, as a community, come together.
The government
and support them.
To do it.
Exactly.
Incentivize the community to do it so that they aren't going directly to the government. Right?
Yes.
So maybe the government can incentivize X, Y, and Z nonprofit or whatever. Right. I always had a theory, man, and if the government would have sent incentive, so we're in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm going to use this as an example. Let's say that we come up with this brilliant idea, and we'll call it NBI Financial Group LLC. We are here in the Carolinas. We're based out of Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is just south of Charlotte, North Carolina, right? I claim Rock Hill, Rock City, baby.
Right.
If I have this business here, NBI Financial Group, you want to know what the government can do?
What?
Incentivize me to hire within my community, right? To hire Rock Hillians. I think that's what they call them. I'm not sure. Rock Hillians? That sounds about right. But so incentivize me to hire Rock Hill people, right?
Yeah.
Incentivize me to hire Rock Hill people who are not high up on the socioeconomic ladder. You know how they can do that? We go into the communities and say, hey, we're going to pay you $17 an hour to come in here and learn how to process mortgages, right?
Right.
You're going to be a processor. This is what you're going to make. And then on top of it, you're going to get a per funded loan bonus.
Right.
So we'll say if you do 10 loans, you'll make an extra, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month, whatever it is, right? Just this is hypothetical. The government can incentivize me to do that by saying, hey, I'm going to take, for all the people that you hire who were living either at or below the poverty line, that you train, we will give you a tax credit for them. You don't have to pay payroll taxes on them. I look at payroll taxes every time one of our employees gets paid. man, they take 8%.
Yeah.
We're getting killed on payroll taxes. We pay a lot in payroll taxes every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, there's a payroll tax charge.
It comes from both sides.
It comes from both sides. It comes directly out of our bank account. Incentivize me to hire people and say, hey, you don't have to pay payroll taxes if you hire X amount of people who are from a socioeconomic background and then guess what I would do as a business? I would go and get a third party that comes in and teaches people about budgets, because 3 out of 5 Americans don't have a budget, that teaches people financial literacy, that teaches people how to buy the primary residence. I want to do that. We aren't big enough to do that. I'll do that myself, even without the credit at some point. Mm-hmm. But I'm also going to teach people how to deliver. And one of the things I will preach, 2-parent households, I will preach that because it takes 2. It takes a village to raise a child.
It does.
So, and they're going to call me crazy. They're going to say I'm some conspiracy nut and so on and so forth, especially with the crack epidemic comment I made. Because if you look at minority communities prior to the crack epidemic, they were very strong nuclear families, man. And, you know, it is what it is. Things happen. We just have to correct the problems, right, and help people. And this is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to help. So